What's up, everybody? This is Doing Car, and this is another new video for you guys. Currently Sunday morning, and I have a bit of a story. So this is a story about the time that I got laced by a DoorDash order back in early 2023. I was working at the North Raleigh location of the phone store I used to work at, and I presumably was alone majority of days up until they closed down that location. So this was in 2023. I wasn't feeling good that same day. I hadn't brought any food to work at all that day when I was working. And let's just say that I decided to call my god brother Antonio, and I decided to order Golden Corral from DoorDash. And I went ahead and ordered it, and I ordered what was it, like mac and cheese, bourbon chicken, and white rice, and a large Coke, and a half of a entire chocolate cake, because I was feeling hungry that day. I wanted to eat good. I was hungry. I wasn't feeling good. I had a bit of a headache. It was already a crappy day to begin with, and more or less I just wanted to go ahead and get some food in my system before I could end off the rest of the day. It was currently like about 12:33 when I placed the order. I got the order about 1:30 that day. And then from there, I pretty much looked at my DoorDash. My DoorDasher was supposed to be a lady that was supposed to be dropping off my order, right? Well, it turned out to be a man. I'm not sure if the man was the lady's husband or whoever had the account. Found it kind of odd. So then I went outside, I picked my order, and then once I grabbed my order, I put it on the counter where I work at, and I pretty much just started eating my food. And all of a sudden, lo and behold, I start noticing that I'm getting a little tipsy. Now, I don't know if it was because I wasn't feeling good that day, or if it was because the food was laced, or I don't know what it was. Now, Similarly, I knew what the feeling of being tipsy or being high was, because previously, earlier that year, I had had a couple of experiences with weed. A little bit of an insight there, but I'll get to that later. So I pretty much started feeling really, really, really like high, like out of it, like really hyperactive for some reason. And my god brother was on the phone with me. He can actually attest to that too. He was on the phone with me. He was like, dude, you went from feeling sick to feeling like hyperactive and happy. And I'm like, yeah, man, I feel so happy. My voice was all high and stuff. It was just crazy. So then I was just like, how is this even possible? I felt like $1,000,000 basically. Like I was just under the influence of something. So then I end the call. My brother, not my brother, my god brother is over there. Like, dude, like something happened to you. You got laced with weed or something. And I noticed that in my order of the bourbon chicken mac and cheese platter with obviously the chocolate cake that I got on the side with my Coke, I got 2 extra cookies that I didn't order. And I was like, maybe it's a complimentary item for me ordering a bunch of food. Typical for Golden Corral or any like spot that you get food from DoorDash. So then I go ahead and I'm like, some cookies wouldn't be too bad to eat before my meal. So then I go and I eat the 2 complimentary cookies that I got that were in a little baggie on the side, and I went ahead and munch on them, and that's when, like 20 minutes later, I started getting the effects of being high for some reason. I knew that I was getting laced because it was suspicious that I was sick, and of course I was already getting hyperactive and full of energy. Heart was beating a lot, really fast. I knew that I was under the influence under something. So then I call up my boss an hour before my shift ends, not sure how I did it to finish the rest of my shift and not get robbed, because I was ultimately like jumpy and very giddy, under the influence of something. Up to this day, I still have no idea what I was under the influence on. But I was very happy. I attended customers, at my old job. This was when this happened. And really, it just really delved down to a lot of freaking things that I had no idea about. So then I call up my boss, and my boss is like, I tell him the whole situation that I ordered food from DoorDash, da, 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 da. And my boss is like, you sure they didn't lace you with 3-hour energy? Because you were a little hyperactive. I was like, oh shoot, I never thought of that. I thought it was weed that they laced me with. And they were like, I'm guessing they probably put like 3-hour energy inside of your Coke or something. So immediately, right after my boss told me that, I decided to, like, I did not even finish the food that I had gotten from DoorDash. I simply just grabbed all the food and threw it away. And then from there, I simply just freaking called it a day and didn't even bother. I threw the food away, got a refund from DoorDash, and that was that. But by far, one of the most trippiest stories that evolved from that year. There's still more that I have. It's actually earlier that year, ending off this DoorDash freaking story that I just told. Earlier that year, I had met this girl off of Hinge. Her name was Shy or Shay, whatever the hell. I can't even pronounce her name. It's been so long. We met through Hinge, and she knew that I worked at a phone store, and she worked at the mall in the city, selling phone cases and stuff at the mall. And we kind of both related to that level of being both sales associates with phones and stuff. She did accessories and I did phones and accessories on the side. Whatever customers I pretty much had that couldn't find anything, I would refer them to her. Sometimes when I couldn't order things on time and customers wanted accessories the same day, I would recommend them to her. But more the story is, we both kind of helped out each other along in the process, throughout the time that we knew each other. Ultimately, with getting to know her, I kind of got out of my comfort zone. Ultimately, for the first time, from within being in the confines of close relationships. I had never gone to bars late at night. I had never stayed out late at night until I met her. I had never liked A1 sauce until I met her. I pretty much had never really gotten into really anything interesting in my life since then. So, we started going out to eat food at steak restaurants. She took me out for my birthday. She bought me a onesie. We pretty much did a lot of things that couples would really pretty much do. It was a pretty sweet relationship. Initially, I think the times we would go to the bars, late at night, and going and getting cookies from Insomnia Cookie late at night after we smoked. For a time there, I kind of got into smoking weed. Ultimately, it was a pleasant experience. I learned how to use a pipe, and I ultimately just kind of was in my stoner era during that year. I believe the first time that I had ultimately first got high. Now this is another story. This is within the same year of the DoorDash lacing. Ultimately, what ended up happening is me and this girl went to the old remains of the old mental asylum that used to be in the city here, and ultimately we went to like park at this area, in like, it's like hidden behind the back of the facility, and we smoked up. And I didn't know what shotgun was, or shotgunning, like smoking or whatever, until I met her. And let me just say that from what I remember is, she had asked me if I had ever smoked before, and I said no. So then she went ahead and was like, I know the spot, we could go smoke and stuff, da 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 da. I was like, all right, bet. So then we go and we get to that facility, and then she grabs a blanket and says, we're gonna sit on the grass here. Nobody will bother us. It's a pretty chill spot." So I was like, "Okay, bet, bet, bet." So then I go ahead and, sit with her. And then she tells me if I've ever shotgunned before. And I said no. So then she goes ahead and hits the pipe and blows the smoke on basically inside of my mouth. And I ultimately get like a euphoric high from the whole thing. And I'm pretty much like almost flabbergasted at that same exact moment, because I'm like, dude, what the heck? So I remember just getting ultimately so high that night. Um, this girl was wanting to find out exactly what we were gonna do next, because it was gonna be a long night. Initially she planned on taking me home, but we ended up hanging out more time that night than we were intentionally wanting to. So initially, uh she had told me from the get-go. We got back into the car. I was high, and there was apparently a state trooper that was patrolling the facility of the old abandoned ruins of the mental facility, and he started flashing his light at us, or his freaking spotlight at us, and we ran to this girl's car fast and hit downtown, which is right down the street, downtown Raleigh. And she said, once I got into that car and we were driving for like 5 minutes, this girl literally said I was off my rocker, talking and screaming and freaking shouting at people on the side of the road in downtown. She couldn't figure out what to do with me. She thank thankfully to God didn't have any bad intentions with me, under that vulnerable state I was in, under that euphoric high. And let's just say that she basically cuddled me while I was high in the grass, and she cuddled me while we were sitting in her car for like about an hour. She said that it was the most peaceful she's ever been with anyone. And I was like, dude, this is like crazy, crazy. But yeah, this is like initially the pretty much the stories that I've pretty much I've not come up with, but I've pretty much experienced throughout the younger majority of my life. Um at one point I did tell myself that I was never going to do any of that stuff, but one is young, and one has to experience one thing or another eventually in their life, and I ended up doing that. Initially, it probably wasn't a smart idea for me to even do that, but you only live once. And initially, me and that girl, Shy, uh, I initially got to know her and everything. She was just so downbeat by the whole situation that I didn't have my license yet, and she was trying to pressure me into getting my license, and getting my own car and stuff, because she had told me that she didn't really plan on driving the rest of her life. And I kind of took that as a bit of conflict in her part, and so I was just like, yeah, no, it's just this isn't gonna work out. So initially I started noticing things about her, and she started getting really distant with me and stuff, and we really only really we really only ever lasted like 2 months. But initially, like, I remember the first day that I had asked her out. We had I think it was like the day after my birthday. Um, we had hung out the entire night. Got she got a little tipsy at the bar. We had a whole session and stuff. Hanging out, and initially, we just hung out the entire morning. My mom didn't even call to see if I was coming home at all. You know, she knew that I would come home like the next day. And let's just say that very next morning, I asked her out and she said yes. And she started introducing me, you know, to her job and her coworkers. And I would pretty much spend the entire day with her at her job while I was off during the weekends. And that was like my favorite part of the entire week because I got to hang out with her and I'll talk to her on the phone through the week. And you know, we'd hang out sometimes after I got off work during the week. You know, initially that part of my life was really excellent. It was very euphoric. It had a beautiful vibe. 2023 in general and 2022 had a really beautiful, unique vibe about it because it was something that I could never really compare it to ever in my life. I mean, initially, if I could go back and go one day back to that year, I'd probably go to the night that I first got to know this girl, and we hung out. We hung out on downtown Raleigh because, like, the very, very, very first time that I met her, um, I remember she picked me up from work. This was like way before I got high with her. She picked me up from work, and she had shown me her weed pipe. And you know, she was basically showing me what it was and stuff. And I remember her wanting to, like, you know, smoke, and I said no, it's a little bit too early for that. And I remember her you know, telling me like that she wanted to go and get slushies late at night. And um I just basically remember just really hanging out with her after work that day that I first met her. And yeah, everything was really just beautiful from there. We would go to expensive restaurants sometimes. I was pretty much living a lavish life with her. But initially, you know, when I first asked her out, I bought her a $300 ring, which up to this day I don't really regret. I think it's more as a learning lesson, but I would really pretty much say that it was a very, very good experience. I had to basically cut things short because she was basically being very distant with me, and something that I really wasn't really wanting to continue. And she wanted to study a trade, so initially she was gonna move out to Fayetteville, anyway. And yeah, it just went downhill with that relationship. But it was a very, very beautiful experience, I would say, for sure, for sure. As a little bit of a fling, I would say. But initially, yeah, that's the story for the Golden Corral lacing and my 2023 fall love era.